It's Wednesday, 22nd May 2024. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. On the news this evening, Rivers State government budgets millions for public-private investment. Lawyer says INEC cannot determine vacancies of Martin Amehule-led lawmakers. DSS police take over Cross River Assembly over Speaker's impeachment. Review of Minister's public performance to begin tomorrow. On the foreign scene, UK to hold national election in July. I am Constance Mega. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says his government has earmarked $10 million in collaboration with the private sector for investments in the state. Governor Fubara said this during the Rivers State Economic Investment Summit being held at the Obiwali International Conference Center today.
Open discussion with an Israeli company in developing our huge agricultural potential have earmarked about $10 million project for this fiscal year. Last week, the State Executive Council approved a proposal by Rainbow Heritage Group to build a new port city in the state. We have also concluded an arrangement for a $10 million mangrove forest conservation and carbon capture project under private-public.
Governor Fubara also highlighted other areas where investors can invest.
The state is blessed with numerous human and natural resources, including oil and gas, fertile soil, solid mineral, extensive coastal line with great water bodies. The state is the center point of the oil and gas industry in West Africa. We account for over 40% of crude oil production onshore in the country and 100% of liquefied gas that the country has.
In his remarks, the chairman of the summit, former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, urged the River State government to ensure that the recommendations of the summit are implemented.
Like the treasure base of the nation. We've got to make this treasure work for all of us. That is the challenge of this summit. So this conference is so apt at a time where the nation is seemingly losing her economic grip. If you get it right, Your Excellency, you'll be encouraging others to do the same.
Also speaking of, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Kingsley Moghalu, advised the Rivers State government to be strategic in its choice of foreign investors.
Investment does not deliver the results if you do not know how to go about it. It calls for a certain strategy. I began by talking about strategy. Without it, you cannot be successful. So foreign investment helped China, it helped Singapore, and we hope it will help Rivers State. But it helped China and Singapore to develop, but it has not brought prosperity. Instead, it has in many cases deepened poverty, as I said, and environment.
The summit with the theme Rivers Emerge, Advancing Pathways to Economic Growth and Sustainability is part of activities to mark the first anniversary of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Correspondent Onyeka Chinwosu reports that the summit was attended by former Minister of Foreign Affairs Odein Ojumogobia, Bayelsa State Governor represented by the Secretary to the Bayelsa State Government, Deputy Governor Ngozi Odu, the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly Victor Okojombo, Chief Judge of the State Simeon Amadi, several other judges, traditional rulers, and many others. The summit continues tomorrow with the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria as the keynote speaker. In the meantime, a public affairs analyst, Olaleko Ige, has expressed hopes that the Rivers State government would match their words with actions after the investment summit. We're speaking on Nigeria Info FM's Talking Figures today. Mr. Ige, who spoke about the importance of the summit's breakout sessions, said experts will deliver papers that will attract more investment to Rivers State.
in all of the breakout sessions, I'm sure experts will be delivering paper to attract more people to come into it. And of course, as more investors come, you already know the multiplier effect of the employment, even the internally generated revenue of the state government will improve. It also means that more people will arrive River State, and as more people arrive River State, of course, we also need other facilities to come along with it, housing, transportation, and all of that.
Moving on, a constitutional lawyer, Richard Wokocha, says the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has no authority to determine vacancies in the seats of the 27 lawmakers in the Rivers State House of Assembly. Professor Wokocha, a lecturer at the Department of Public Law, Rivers State University, tells our correspondent that INEC's position due to the ongoing court case does not override Section 109 of the Constitution.
INEC is an affected party, and you find that in all of those suits, INEC is made the party. So whatever the court determines on the question that is before the court is what INEC will have to do. And everybody who is aware of the pendency of a case has a duty to stay action until the court determines one way or the other the question that is before it. Contestations will not end until they exhaust the available. Unless the court rules otherwise, Section 109 as it is now makes him the legitimate person and makes only those people left the members of the House of Assembly.
Well, Professor Wokocha explained that the court's responsibility is to decide if the State House of Assembly, previously headed by Edison Ehi, properly declared their seats vacant.
It is not the court that determines vacancy. The Constitution spells out that if a person takes certain courses of action, that their seat shall be vacated. It listed taking of executive responsibility, resignation, and 109G, sort of defecting from your party into another party other than the one that sponsored you to the House. As for whether they are still on their seats, they are out of their seats, and the court is being asked to consider whether, in the circumstance, that declaration of vacancy and the vacation of their position was properly done.
Recall that INEC said it is awaiting the court's judgment to determine whether the seats of the 27 lawmakers led by Martin Amehule should be declared vacant. Elsewhere, officials of the Department of State Services and personnel of the Nigerian Police Force have taken over the complex of the Cross River State Assembly. But this was following the impeachment of the Assembly Speaker, Elvert Anyambem. Mr. Anyambem was impeached over alleged gross misconduct and financial misappropriation. But in an interview, Mr. Anyambem insists he remains Speaker. In another development, as many await the portfolios of the 8 new commissioners in Rivers State, some residents of Port Harcourt are calling on the newly sworn-in commissioners to work effectively for the interest of Rivers people. They spoke to our correspondent.
They should keep this politics of a thing aside. As the governor has always said, they should put the people of Rivers State first.
So for the commissioners, I expect them to ensure that one of their primary goals is to lift the state far higher than it was.
But yesterday, when I look at the 8 commissioners being assigned to their various duty, I was so excited.
They don't need to see the gap between where they're coming from or what brought their emergence. They need to prove that they have something to offer. Because what the people of Rivers State want is good governance.
Also, a lecturer, Mark Ogoro, called on the commissioners to tackle flooding in the state.
Where every year you locate the people from the riverine places, their home of abode, to somewhere you call IDP camp. We have countries where people live below sea level, and we have resources to ensure that we live comfortably. Focus on the riverine people who are vulnerable to flooding, inundation, and effect of sea level rise.
Well, the commissioners were screened and confirmed by the Victor Oko Jumbo-led Rivers State House of Assembly on Tuesday. They were sworn in hours later. President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of a former Chief of Staff in Rivers State, Chukwuemeka Woke, as the Director General, Chief Executive Officer of the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NOSTRA. The President's spokesperson, Ajurin made this known in a statement. Recall that Mr. Woke was on the 9th of May appointed as the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Ogun-Osun River Basin Development Authority. Well, Adedeji Ashiru will now head the Ogun-Osun River Basin Development Authority. Still to come, review of Minister's public performance to begin tomorrow. Stay tuned. Well, the former president said this at a summit on the state of democracy in Africa held at Yaradua. I beg your pardon. The former president said this at a summit on the state of democracy in Africa held at the Yaradua Center in Abuja today. He said Africa must build a model of democracy that is true to the African heritage and that caters for the welfare of the people. Moving on now, Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris has unveiled a lineup of activities to mark the 1 year in office of President Bola Tinubu's administration. Mr. Idris, who spoke at the interministerial press conference today, said all ministers will tomorrow stand in front of 1 year.
From tomorrow, the bigger dish will be served. A couple of ministers are coming to discuss, and they have been broken down into sectors, like I have said. You hear them out. Each of the ministers will have at least 20 minutes to talk about what he's doing in his ministry, and then at the end of the day, you have opportunity to also ask questions, and then we continue the day after. So when you come here and you listen to the various ministers, you have the opportunity to ask them questions
On his part, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, said the President Tinubu's administration is ensuring that concerns of Nigerians are prioritized.
I meant to say that Nigeria under the present leadership has witnessed significant policy strides. This administration also rolled out several social intervention programs aimed at alleviating poverty, empowering vulnerable segments of our society. These initiatives have provided financial assistance, skills acquisition opportunities, and
the Senate has asked the federal government to make provision for a special intervention fund for maintenance of transmission lines in the country. Well, this follows the recent incidents of vandalization along the Jos-Gombe transmission line, which has resulted in severe disruptions to power supply, affecting 7 states in the northeast zone.
And now, we bring you news from around the world.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has called a national election for July 4th, saying Britons would be able to choose their future. His Conservative Party is widely expected to lose to the opposition Labour Party after 14 years in power. On the news this evening, you heard that the Rivers State government has budgeted $10 million for public-private investment. A lawyer, Richard Wokocha, says INEC cannot determine the vacancies of the Martin Amehule-led lawmakers. The DSS and the police have taken over the Cross River State Assembly over the Speaker's impeachment. And the review of ministers' public performance will begin tomorrow. On the foreign scene, the UK is to hold a national election on the 4th of July. The news was edited by Martha Okerinkem. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I am Constance Mega. Thank you so much for listening. Good evening.